Hey guys, welcome back to the Popcorn Square podcast. In this episode, we are going to be discussing releases in June. I am Neff, joined with
Kage.
And Buttons.
All right, so to start off, I guess I should start with the movies I think I feel most interested in. First one being Quiet Place. This is actually going to be I don't necessarily want to say a prequel, but somewhat of a prequel to the events of the original Quiet Place 1 and 2. I feel it's more of I guess, a different paradigm of what's going on with these events as far as the aliens coming down to Earth. So I think that's going to be a really interesting spin with the story, being able to see that film from a different angle, from a different perspective of different characters. Now, I did notice there are some actors that were in the second Quiet Place that are in this Quiet Place, so we'll see how they play a part. I noticed that in the trailer, Kage. So we'll see how they play a part in this film and then how it actually connects with the original family that you've seen in Quiet Place 1 and Quiet Place 2. Guys, if you've not seen A Quiet Place, one of the best original sci-fi, I guess, thriller films that's come out recently or ever, actually. And there's 2 of those out right now, so I think you can go watch those on Paramount. June is kind of bleak for me, honestly. There are some other releases. I know we do have Bad Boys 4 releasing. I think that's actually this upcoming weekend. The Watchers by M. Night Shyamalan and his daughter, actually. I believe that's out now. That's starring Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, Dakota Fanning.
Dakota Fanning's in that. We have Inside Out 2. That's going to be a great family film for the kids.
Another
Pixar film. I think that would do pretty well. And we have Horizon with Kevin Costner. If anybody is interested in the Westerns, that film is coming out as well. I think that is late June as well. The same as Quiet Place Day 1. Other than that, that's big theatrical releases. I don't know what's coming out on streaming. I think my other co-host here will help me out with that, and that will be something we can possibly discuss. But I think as far as theatrical releases, I've covered everything for June. So if anybody's interested in anything I've spoke on there, that's what we got for June, guys. We're going to be talking about we're going to talk about summer in a future episode. We're going to talk about the output we're getting from the studios. I think everybody here can agree that the output is kind of slowing down for summer, and it's quite interesting. That will also go into another topic of performance with theatrical releases and films this year in general. But I'll pass it off to one of my co-hosts here, Kage, and he'll speak on what he feels about June and what films he thinks are going to be interesting for him.
Yeah, thank you, Neff. Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna agree. June is looking pretty bleak. There's not a lot going on that I'm like really kicking the door down to go see. Bad Boys, Ride or Die, and Quiet Place Day 1. I'm more so looking forward to Quiet Place. I've enjoyed that movie. It's a different take on the post-apocalypse genre. We've seen movies where you come in and the machines have taken over in The Matrix and Terminator, or the zombie apocalypse has already started, but we don't see origin. I think Dawn of the Dead kind of showed like a little origin there, but this is different. Aliens from space that don't like noise. I'm like, okay, it's different. I like it because
it's a creature feature.
It's a creature feature with a twist. It's like when you see an alien, a xenomorph, whatever, you're gonna scream, and it's like, wow, the one thing you instinctually want to do, you can't, and we're going to punish you for it. So I think that's very innovative in that realm of film. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that. The Bad Boys trailer, I'm not going to lie, the trailer I saw was interesting because just the callback jokes, seeing the boyfriend sitting on his couch, on Mike's couch, and he's grown up and he's in the Marines. And he's like, you got to get a job. And like, it took me a second to look at him. I'm like, is that the same kid?
Yeah, from Bad Boys 2.
Yeah. And I was like, I looked it up. I'm like, sure enough, it is. So I love it when movies do that, when they have a sequel and they call back all the original actors. They could have just as easily replaced his character and nobody would know. Right. But they called back the original. It's kind of like the Insidious, the Red Door movie that came out. I absolutely love that. When you do sequels, keep it consistent, keep your actors consistent. It helps with the continuity. So I just from seeing that alone, and it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see Will Smith, given his rocky road in the public eye ever since the Oscar slap. Let's not pretend for a second that's not a factor here. I think is it his first major picture since then?
I don't want to say it's his first major. He's had some other ones, but this is definitely one of the big ones because this is like his staple.
Fair.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
Bad
fair.
Boys. You're going back, I want to say 30 years now. About 30 years, 29
And-
years. So
and, like-
it's a big film for him.
Yeah, and like when we've talked about it in the past, where you got if you're gonna do a sequel, first things first, keep it to three. Keep it to three movies. Anything beyond that, you're
Watering down the
you're
product.
watering down the product exactly. And then two, if you're gonna do it, release it within a reasonable amount of time. Usually, when you make a sequel, 20, 30 years, it's generally not good. I don't know too many examples off the top of my head of a sequel coming out that many years later and being amazing.
Right.
I'm optimistic.
I agree,
hopeful.
and we'll deep dive a little more into that. You had some great points on that. I think everybody agrees that Bad Boys 1 is a classic.
Yes.
Classic film, still holds up today.
Yes.
Jerry Bruckheimer on there, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, arguably in their primes of popularity. Arguably one of the best action comedy films of all time. And I'll even throw it in there as one of the best action films in the 90s. That was 1995. Bad Boys 2, 8-year time gap. That film was actually pretty good too.
Yes.
Not as good as Bad Boys, but pretty solid, held up. Then we have a 17-year gap. Bad Boys for Life. I was not a fan of this film. I actually stopped watching it halfway
too.
through. Interesting. And now, 4 years later, little smaller gap in time. Actually, the smallest amount of time in between a Bad Boys film. Bad Boys Ride or Die. And crazy enough, all of these films, I believe, made a good amount of money. Bad Boys 1, $19 million budget. Box office, $141 million. Wow. Bad Boys 2, I think this is the one that actually performed the worst, interesting enough.
Really?
$130 million budget. Box office, $273.3 million. Bad Boys for Life, 2020. Budget $90 million, box office $426.5 million.
Wow.
So this is why we are getting a fourth installment. There is a fan base for Bad Boys. Like I said, I do like Bad Boys. Not a fan of Bad Boys 3. I can vouch for the first two. Bad Boys Ride or Die is not out. I cannot judge it. It might be something that I do stream. But just to piggyback on what Kage was saying, he gave us a lot of good details about Bad Boys, and so that just gives you a little deeper insight into the performance and why you still see Bad Boys running in theaters now. Continue, sir.
Yeah. I mean that's pretty much it. But I like I was seeing the jokes and I was seeing the action. I was seeing them bringing back the characters. I'm like, this could be a hidden gem right here.
Might be.
I'm a little worried, and you can't really talk about the movie without the slap, because I'm online, I'm looking at the trailer, and I'm on YouTube, on social media, and the comments, every single comment, someone is talking about making a joke about the slap. It's like, can we move past?
This could go both ways.
This can go
Like,
both
this-
ways.
This could help the movie or it could hinder. I think it's actually going to help, And also, I think a reason from the trailer, from what I saw, I think the reason that this might actually perform well, and it's funny because Bad Boys for Life did perform well, but I remember bits and pieces of that film, and I know they were focusing on other people rather than Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. So I think that kind
And-
of took it out of it for me. But I feel like with this one, they're focusing back on Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. So I think people will be like, oh, okay, this is good. We're focused on them now.
The original
Exactly.
Bad Boys.
'Cause
Yeah.
It was always usually just about them and
Sure,
what they had
sure.
going on in their life. But it seemed like in the third one, they kind of like switched
Kinda
it onto
shifted
other
to
characters, right?
the
And like,
newer, younger
right, trying to
characters.
bring in some new blood to see if it kind of works out. And it did work out, which is interesting. So it worked, per the results of the box office, but it looks like in this film they're focusing back on the two main characters. So I wonder if they still bring those characters back in, leave some out, leave some in. But then again, I didn't finish that third film, so I don't really
Same.
know. Maybe some people died, maybe some people lived. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So it's very
I mean-
interesting. But I think the more you focus on Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, the better you're gonna do. That's what I think, because people want to watch it for them.
That's what they want. Yeah.
Right.
And I hope the people listening out there, I hope you give it a chance. Go see it. Don't sit there and go, oh, he slapped somebody at the Oscars, so I'm never going to see his stuff. I've been kind of worried for his career after that, just from reading the negativity
Yeah.
online. I'm like,
The
come
whole
on.
cancel culture.
Yeah, yeah.
things.
It's like, are we gonna not pretend that he was like a major part of the '90s, Fresh Prince of Bel
Well,
Air,
even early
Independence
2000s,
Day, or
yeah.
Independence Day, Men in Black? Oh my God, Men in Black! I've watched so many Will Smith movies. Not to mention, I'm not
mean-
ashamed. The music, I like some of the, I like
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the music. Wild
Some of
Wild
those
West
CDs
was
were
an
good.
absolute
Well,
bomb. I like that movie.
Aladdin did really well.
I
you
liked
know,
Aladdin.
and
I liked
so-
Almost
Aladdin,
$1 billion,
yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
if not $1 billion.
Yeah.
So
I think it might have made $1
But I
billion.
think he was a big reason why that movie did so
Yeah,
well.
of course.
He did good because, I mean, I think we can all agree, rest in peace, Robin Williams absolutely made the original Aladdin, 1994? He absolutely made
Yeah.
it, with his humor and just his spirit and everything. And so that's some big shoes to fill. And I'm going to say that Will Smith did a pretty damn good job.
I got some cool facts for you guys. Let me go back and correct myself there. Bad Boys is out now. Came out on Friday.
See, that
Budget $100 million. Box office so far $104 million.
so it's
performing
already,
pretty
yeah,
well.
It's already pretty solid.
Okay.
We're not even to Monday yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
And that was I think something that we had discussed off mic, because I remember we were saying like, oh yeah, I think some of the reviews are hitting a little hard on it, from what I've seen, but butts and seats, man, that's
Yeah.
where the true test of whether a movie is successful or not is how many butts are in those seats. Because yeah, the first wave is going to be people who are just excited to go see the movie, but then word of mouth is going to spread. And if the critics universally hate a movie, it's not going to always impact how successful the movie is, because we know that there's some critics out there that just will hate on a movie.
They're biased.
Correct, and they're biased. Or they sit there and they say, oh, well, it doesn't have the right, visuals, or the story isn't deep enough, it's not thought provocative, or the cinematography is off. But it's like, some people don't go to a movie for cinematography. Some people don't go because, they have the best costume design and things like that, which these critics are judging a little bit more harsh on certain aspects of a film or the overall presentation, whereas other people are like, yeah, I enjoyed it. It made me laugh, or it had enough emotional depth for me to get engaged with my characters and with the storyline, and I just enjoyed the movie. I got caught up in the experience, and so it was great. And for me to turn around and read an article afterwards that says, oh yeah, this movie was complete dog trash, you sit there and you say, I don't know which movie you were watching, because I had a good time.
Yeah.
And so we joke about that sometimes, about how critics will come out and say a movie is awful and the audience loves it, gives it
Yep.
a much higher score.
Absolutely.
And, really, like I said, that's kind of what I think people need to realize when they're reading reviews, is that some people are just going to give you what their honest opinion is, but you should always judge for yourself.
Absolutely.
Always.
I think on a little thing I do sometimes is I look at Metacritic, I look at Collider, I've seen IGN, I've seen and then what I usually do is, when I look at a review, I look at the author and I get a sample of the articles of the reviews they're given, to kind of get an idea on where they are bias wise. You know what I mean? Because I've never hidden it on this podcast. I tend to look like the darker stuff, like horror movies and stuff like that. And so when I watch a reviewer, if they crap on horror movies, I'm gonna look at, well, what did they review? Oh, they like Kung Fu Panda. They like this stuff. It's like, no wonder they hated it, and vice versa. So do yourself a service and go out there and see it for yourself and make your own opinion. Bad Boys, excited for that. Quiet Place, very
What do you
excited
think
for
about
that.
this, Kage? Go ahead.
No, what's that?
How you feeling about Quiet Place?
Quiet Place, I'm ready. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. When can we go? Let's go.
June 28th, sir.
End of the month.
Yes, I am ready.
Yeah, this is awesome. We got Lupita Nyong'o in there, Joseph Quinn, Alex Wolff, and Jimon Hansu. So this is the guy from Blood Diamond. And this is the guy I said was in the second part of Quiet Place
yeah,
as
he
well.
was-
He ends up dying in that one. But,
Yeah.
Or they allude
Okay.
to him dying in it. But like we said, this is
Well,
supposed to be a
he
prequel to
definitely-
those events.
yeah, it definitely
Don't
looks
think he
like he-
made it.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, he gets drug out from like underneath the garage door with yeah. So.
And folks, Quiet Place is a film to watch on the biggest screen possible with the best sound system. Me and Buttons watched Quiet Place 2 at a very nice theater, and it was worth the experience. But
Can we
yeah,
just appreciate the irony of talking about A Quiet Place and praising the sound system at the theater? You're going
because
to
Isn't that
they're-
funny?
Because they're
Yeah.
all about this. It's a very sound.
anything else you
related-
want to add, Kage? Are you interested in Horizon?
You know what?
It's a Western.
No. Westerns are kind of hit or miss.
No.
I tend to stream Westerns.
Now, Kage, I know that since you like the horror movies, there is one on the list that you did not mention, and that's The Exorcist with Russell Crowe. So that comes out this month. And yeah. I
Wait
wanna
a
say-
minute.
Really?
Yeah.
That slipped under my radar.
I think
Hold
it's
on.
towards the end of the month. Now, it is for
I thought
anybody
that
who's seen.
already came.
It says release date June 21st, 2024. So, and this one is not
This
a
one's streaming?
remake. No, no, I believe it is going into theaters.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
it's
that
a
one really slipped
Miramax.
under the radar.
Ooh, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so that one and yep, it's got movie theater showtime set for it. So,
Dang.
this is not supposed to be a remake of the, what was it, 1970 something Exorcist?
Yeah.
The original. That's not what it's supposed to be. This is more of like he's a troubled priest, like he has substance abuse problems, and he gets called in to do this exorcism, so he's not all quite there.
So it's called The Exorcism.
Oh, the exorcism, excuse me, not the exorcist,
that's
the
all I was
exorcism. But it's the
Same
exorcist.
idea.
It's the,
Yeah,
he's got to
yeah,
go
yeah,
perform
yeah.
an exorcism, right?
He's doing a lot of those type of films.
Right,
which
so
is
that's what we
interesting.
were gonna say, or that's what I was gonna say, excuse me, is, so we had last year The Pope's Exorcist, which actually was very well received. It was a streaming movie, and it has been greenlit for a second. So they are making a second Pope's Exorcist, and that one is Netflix.
So so just to be clear,
But
this
The
upcoming.
Exorcism, coming out at the end of the month, the 21st, The Exorcism is in no way related to the Pope's Exorcist.
All right, that's what I was gonna
So,
ask.
but it was weird because I did a double take, because like, didn't he just do, I was like, exactly what Kage said, like, didn't he just do an Exorcist movie? And it's like, yes, he did. I mean, obviously,
So he was in another
production-wise,
Exorcist movie, but they're not connected?
they're not connected. And then, like I said, he's going to have probably a 2025 release date for the second Pope's Exorcist. At least that's probably what it's looking like. It's gonna get pushed out for a little while. But yeah, it was one of those ones that kind of flew under the radar, and I was
But-
like,
Wow. They're not
And it
marketing
flew-
that at all, really.
I think I saw a trailer for it one time in one movie I
Right.
saw.
Is it
It
on
probably
YouTube?
had a teaser trailer
probably.
several months ago. You know how we've noticed
Yeah.
a pattern where they'll throw out a little teaser several months.
Yeah, it
and then
might
you
have been
don't
on
really
Miramax's
see-
page or
Yeah,
something.
you
It
don't
was
really
low-key.
see anything until like right before the
Mm-hmm.
release, and then they kind of push it real hard to get people excited because it's about to come out. But, right, so The Exorcism is coming out. So that's something, maybe
Okay.
maybe to
I'll-
pique your interest a little bit there.
My interest is piqued. I might have to look into that. Let's save June, Hollywood. Please give me something. Because right now we got 2 movies. One already came out, and I got to see that. We got Quiet Place at the end of the month, and when's this again?
21st.
21st,
So
okay.
28th for Quiet Place, day one. 21st for The Exorcism.
All right.
Interesting.
And-
Any other details, Button? Anything else you got? That
Well,
you're interested in other than-
Well, I mean, obviously, we kind of skimmed over the Watchers.
Yeah.
It was something that I had thought I'd get a chance to watch. I do like Dakota Fanning as an actress, and I feel like this movie is more of Shyamalan's daughter's project, and he's kind of producing it. So she's the one actually directing it. So I kind of want to give her a chance just because.
That's fair.
We've all discussed what a hot mess most of M. Night Shyamalan's movies have been recently, or in the last, probably decade plus.
Outside of a couple here and there.
Except,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. His filmography, he's done tons of films, but not all of them have been very well received. I mean, I think probably, when you stick with a trend or repeated, niche, whatever you want to call it.
Just call it the twist niche.
Yeah, his calling card, right? Like every time he's like, oh, we got to have this big twist.
The issue for M. Night Shyamalan is he does not know how to stick the landing.
Right. So everybody's invested, and then you get to the end and you're like, what the hell? So, and he did it a couple of times successfully.
Yes, he did.
So you got to give it to him for, when you're able to pull that off, it's wildly, entertaining and very satisfying.
Yeah.
But
Gotta pull it off.
if you're trying to make it your thing every single movie and you fail to deliver,
Stop doing it.
more than 50% of the time, come up with something else.
'Cause-
Like throw me a couple of regular movies with no twist,
Right.
and then throw me another one with a twist, and then I'm gonna not
Yeah,
expect
'cause-
it.
Mix
I'm gonna
it
be
up.
like, woo.
That's the thing too, is we had I off the top of my head, I'm The Happening, Devil, what was the other one? Signs,
Signs.
and then old Bruce Willis movie, the best movie he's ever made.
Unbreakable.
No.
No.
Oh, well, that is.
Sixth Sense.
Oh,
Sixth
Sixth
Sense.
Sense.
That
Okay.
is the best
Well, he
movie
also-
Shyamalan has ever
I
done.
did like
Unbreakable, too?
Unbreakable. I did like Unbreakable. I thought that.
I
was a
heard
decent
that
movie.
I haven't seen that one, but I did
Now
hear that was good.
that was a trilogy. He did a
Unbreakable,
trilogy.
Split, and Glass.
Yes, and that
But-
that was all tied together within the same universe, which it was nice to see the ending of it where it wraps it all together.
Well, I really enjoyed Devil, because have you guys seen that? Yeah.
I have not seen Devil.
So it starts off with a crime scene. There's a suicide. They go into this tall hotel skyscraper because there's glass outside. Somebody jumped out a window or whatever, and so they go to investigate. And most of the movie takes place in an elevator where there's a group of people, and then they get stuck in there. They get stuck in there, and strange things start happening.
Is it the elevator?
You know what? That's a great pun, and I
Never
will
trust an
allow it.
old lady in an elevator.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, so the whole movie, you're it's like a demonic game of Clue, and you're sitting there trying to figure out, okay, who did it? And when you start hearing about the characters and the things that they've done in their past, you're like, it could be this person, it could be this person. And when the twist hits, I was like, damn. That was a good ghost story, if you will. It scratched that itch for me.
Right.
And the fact that it came from him, I'm like, see, he has talent.
Yeah,
It's there. It's deep. It's
deep,
there.
Deep. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, real deep. But I remember watching The Village, and I was like, okay, what's this about? And then I got to the end, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
I want my life. I want that time of my life back. I'm so pissed.
I'm going to disagree with you. I actually enjoyed The Village.
What?
Lady in the Water, I thought was a
Very.
very weird one for him. And yeah, I guess supernatural things going on and, kind of otherworldly.
I like paranormal horror.
It's
I like
paranormal,
supernatural
yeah.
stuff. I'm
The
okay
Village
with
is
that.
not, though. They
It's
make
not.
it think. They make you think it is.
And that's what made me mad.
And right, and then they pull that's the whole twist is it's not.
Yeah, I was
Sorry
like,
for
I
anybody
was
who
like,
hasn't seen The Village
I was
yet.
like, you had me in the first half. I was like, damn it. I was invested. I felt betrayed. Like, such a good build-up. I was buying this. And then you didn't know what to do. It's just like Neff said, he just doesn't know how to stick the landing. He has a
Right.
build-up, the pacing is good, the tension is good, the acting, everything is good. It's just doesn't know how to end his stories.
Wow.
It's like watching the Blair Witch Project where they're running through the woods and then if somebody just turned around and like flipped on the lights and everybody's like, all right, let's go home. And you just like, what? It was a soundstage the whole time?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what the
yeah.
hell?
Interesting comparison there. What do you think about A Quiet Place, Buttons?
So I am definitely going to be seeing this one. I enjoyed the first two movies. I think, Krasinski, he has been, not all of his movies that he's directed or written and directed. This one, obviously, the first one he wrote, directed, and starred in. But this one, obviously, he's just getting a directing or did we say he's not
think he's
directing?
producing.
He's producing this one. But he, it's all based off of his
Right.
creation, the
Sure.
original Quiet Place. So it's his universe. And I'm sure he's there as far as, just like as George Lucas would be for Star Wars as a source of information. But it's going to be good, I can tell, because each one of them, yeah, maybe the second one I didn't like as much as the first one, but they're growing and evolving, and that's what I like. They're not stuck with the same, story over and over again. I mean, yes, this is taking it in a different direction, but I can already tell it's going to give you more information than the first two gave you.
And it's
which
an original.
that's what I'm excited
It's an original.
about.
Now,
Yes.
the idea technically is not original, but the story itself is very original. We've seen alien invasion films, but we've never seen it quite like this. So
Right.
definitely got to give them credit for that.
Right.
And that's why I like it, because it's different.
Yep.
And the other thing that, would be interesting, and I don't know if they'll take it through this, if they decide to continue the franchise or not. I mean, with the first two, they had established that these creatures have been able to maintain, their presence on Earth for a while. Now, when they're exploring most of the surrounding area, most of the people are dead. So it begs the question where they're getting their food now. And with the second one, you see that kind of shift from, okay, this is what the immediately happened in the present or in the past, however you want to look at it, to several years later and how they're coping, how the creatures are kind of evolving or getting smarter. So with this one, it could be a way to kind of see that evolution as well from a different angle of, them having to basically evolve or die. And that would be interesting if they take this movie to, time to give a little bit more background on that. Because with creatures, just like with aliens, they have to adapt. And one of the best things that you see in the alien movies is they're like, oh, they set a trap. Like,
Yeah.
like we went to hunt them, and then the whole time they were rounding us up, and now we're,
Or
they're intelligent,
Or one thing I caught, I think we have, which alien movie? Because it all bleeds together.
The second one, I think, was when they killed one of the other aliens
Okay,
just to
okay.
get the blood.
Oh, okay, that's
so they
what I was
could-
going for. I think it was in Revelations. I might be wrong on that, Neff.
What are you specifically asking?
So basically, yeah, the aliens were in a containment cell.
Right.
And
They killed one.
they killed one of their own to burn a hole through the thing to get out. And I'm like, oh, that's horrifying.
Right. They're like,
that's
hey.
how much they're willing to go.
They're like, oh, you're the weak one, huh?
Yeah, and then they just went down, and meanwhile the scientists are in the room like, oh no.
Well, they
What
tried to,
happened?
yeah, they
They tried to
like,
push
gas
the
them.
button to stop it. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, it doesn't.
Too late.
I'm like, all right, let's light this candle. You know that, but like that shows how they operate, and the xenomorphs, just like you said, they set traps now, and then also they have different evolutions, different variants,
Yeah,
and stuff
depending
like
on
that.
who they gestated within.
Yep.
They take on characteristics and DNA and stuff like that. So that was why it was so exciting in some of the later ones, even though the story didn't hold up in so much in like Prometheus and in Covenant, where you had at least some different xenomorphs. So you're like, ooh, look at that one.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, ooh, what does this one do?
And that's-
you're all excited for it.
And we'll be talking about we'll talk about that more later when we see
Get into
Romulus.
Yeah,
For
that'll be
sure.
August.
What do you guys expect from June as far as box offices?
I think
we
Inside
kind of already
Out.
talked about Bad Boys
Inside
4.
Out is
I think
gonna do
that's
some
going to do
numbers.
well. Inside Out, what are you thinking? Buttons.
I think Inside Out is going to pull
400
in.
million, 500 million?
I think they're going to get around 4. It's a sequel. I think the first one did successful, but it is still not got a lot of competition as far as kids movies. So it might even do better because kids are still out for the summer and
Sure.
parents are going to take them. They're not going to go see Quiet Place or The Watchers. Those are horror movies. They're not going to take their little kids to go see those unless they want nightmares. Sorry, kids, you're not going to be able
I
to
mean,
sleep tonight.
I remember seeing parents taking their kids out of Deadpool, like getting up and walking the theater, and me and my friends are just sitting there shaking our heads like, why did you bring them to this of all movies?
Right. And you know, so basically Inside Out 2, and then the next competition won't be Despicable Me until July. So I think it's going to do high 4s is my best guess as
Projections
far
for where Bad Boy lands at? I want to say
as, well, it's already done
300.
100.
300.
3, yeah,
And I think that's very fair.
very fair. Considering the time frame, like I'm hoping that it does really well. I'm hoping it does that or better, because they're getting all the crew back. They're getting all the old cast back. I saw that 90s humor in there.
Yeah, and the $100 million
and by the
budget
way-
helps. It helps. The lower the budget, the better for this.
Yeah.
And,
So
and by the
300 's
way,
a success.
one thing we haven't mentioned in talking about Bad Boys is this is like, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen Martin Lawrence in anything.
This is really the only thing he does as far as movies still.
That's what I thought. So this,
mean,
we're seeing. So they called everybody back, minor characters, actors who don't really do anything except this. You know what I mean? So that can
I
go
think the
either
last
way.
movie of note I remember seeing Martin Lawrence in was, what was it, Big Mama's House?
Well, it
And I
would have
think
been
he-
it
I
would have
think
been
he
Bad
did-
Boys 3 if you saw that.
But I meant like
Yeah, but
other than the Bad Boys
that
movies.
yeah, it's
I think he also did one where
he doesn't
he
do too
did
many big movies like that. I think he did. I think he did.
family kind
I
of
think
movie?
I think we're going in the same direction like that because I know Ice Cube did something like that. Like,
He
are we
did
there
RV.
yet?
Oh, yeah,
Something
no,
like that.
Are We
But I
There
think
Yet?
Martin
Yeah.
Lawrence did a film like that too, and I can't
did a
pinpoint
Night
that name
movie.
of that film.
What was it?
Oh, Black Knight.
Was that Black Knight?
Yeah, that was a comedy movie.
Yeah, okay,
That's
I
like when
remember.
he did like Blue Streak and stuff. But
Yeah,
this
okay,
is
I
like
remember that.
early 2000s, bro. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is like where we're going back, where it's like,
Yeah,
as
and
far
Big
as
Mama's
recently,
House
like
was
you
early
said, it's not like
2000s.
he's not doing as much.
He's not really doing as much. So it's interesting to see
Mm-hmm.
the boys back together again.
It's a reunion.
It's a
Yeah.
reunion.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Chris Tucker in a lot of stuff
yeah,
after
we
Rush Hour. Rush Hour 4.
Very true.
So, or was it 3?
I don't think Jackie Chan's ever coming back to America.
He did The Foreigner, and that one I really enjoyed, but it wasn't his normal Jackie Chan movie.
Right.
He's old, and he's like, I'm this old man who has a particular set of skills, and
He
you
really
killed my
does.
daughter.
But listen, that man
Where
has
have we seen that before?
I know, right?
that man has earned his right to play old characters that don't
this
do
point,
anything. He's earned
The
that
man
right.
is, I think, is he 80 now?
Jackie Chan?
Yeah, or is he still in his 70s?
I think Jackie Chan is probably late 60s.
Oh, no, he's older than that.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely
Buttons,
older than
please
60s.
enlighten me.
All right, hold on a second.
I didn't think Jackie Chan was that old.
Oh, no, Jackie
I
Chan
thought
is...
60s.
I say late
Jackie Chan,
60s
his
at
career
most.
started in the 60s when he was like a teenager. Jackie
How old's
Chan
Jackie
We're about to get some
is
truths dropped on us.
70.
So I'm close.
Yeah.
Late 60s,
So late
70s.
60s.
So he's
I
up
thought he was
there,
a little
but
older than that, but he is
all
70.
I got out of that is, what am I doing with my life? Because when I'm 70,
how old's Liam Neeson?
Oh, he's in his 70s, well into his 70s.
While you look for that, I'll keep talking to Kage
Yeah.
over here. What do you think for Quiet Place, sir? I'm going to
You
say
already-
450 for me. $450 million.
450?
72. Liam Neeson, 72.
Wow.
And I watched Gangs of New York last week. But anyway,
Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis.
yeah.
I like
I could
that
do
one.
4X.
400.
Yeah.
Okay. Me and Buttons were looking at the numbers this past week about what Quiet Place did, and we got a nice little gauge. It's kind of like what we talked about Deadpool. I don't know if I had that conversation with you, where I looked at Deadpool 1 and 2, and I think it's literally the smallest margin as far as a projection for a film. They're both within about $3 to $5 million.
Yeah.
So the first one, I believe, I might be getting it backwards, did about 785, and the second one did 782.
Okay.
So we have a great, I guess, a palette of information to pull from to where we can think, Deadpool is going to be. But that is next month, folks.
August.
Yeah. What do you think for this one,
August will
Buttons?
be Alien Romulus. Oh wait,
Well,
sorry.
we're talking
were
about Deadpool.
June.
That's July.
Yeah.
It's
Deadpool
almost
is July.
August,
It's
but it's the
almost,
end of
yeah.
July. What do you think for Quiet Place, Buttons, performance-wise?
I mean, this year has been such a underperforming year for movies, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I think Quiet Place is a strong title. I think there is a good amount of fans that are going to come, to see it because they enjoyed the first two. And with what it's got to compete against, it's probably the strongest option, especially here at the end of the month, with what it's competing with. But I think people are genuinely pulling back from going to the theater, and this is not a kids movie. So
Yeah.
if people are trying to save a little bit of money and they've got kids, you're losing a big portion of your paying moviegoers because they're going to take them to go see Inside Out.
An interesting dynamic that I'm going to throw into what you're saying, Buttons. Quiet Place 2 came out in March. This is coming out in June. Let's see how that plays a difference in the box
Right.
office.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got.
I think they're going
but
to lean heavily on their fan base for this to do well.
Right, especially because
Heavy.
normally you would sit there and you would say, okay, we want them to be strong, the movie needs to be strong enough to beat out all the other titles that are the summer releases. But honestly, June doesn't have a lot of big titles other than Inside Out 2, in my opinion. Sure, you have The Watchers, but that's at the beginning of the month. We're talking now at the end of the month. And it's going to have to start, people are going to have to start deciding, do I want to go see this, or am I going to save up my money for Despicable Me 4 or for Deadpool 3? So they're going to have to start making some choices as to,
notes.
where am I going to be throwing my money around?
Especially if I take the family out.
Exactly. If well, even if it's a date night movie, you sit there and you say, okay, well, tickets are, ranging almost, $15 if you go to the premium theater and get the premium seating and so on and so forth. And if you buy it online, that's extra processing fees and everything else. So you might be paying $20 a person just for tickets. And then you're like, oh,
Concessions.
gotta have the popcorn, gotta have that soda, maybe a thing of red vines or some gummy bears or whatever. And now you're talking, $40 for, two people to go see a
Right.
theater or
Minimum.
go to, minimum to go see it. It's like if you don't get any concessions, if you get the matinee price, if you get the, and people right now, the way the economy is and with inflation and everything else, plus it's an election year. And
Yeah.
I think people are kind of pulling back a little bit on the reins as far as spending. And honestly, it kind of makes me wonder if Hollywood did the same because of the election. Not that they didn't put out any strong titles for this year, but it seems like they've not put out very as many titles as we've seen in the past.
Well, let's
Yeah,
not
We
forget.
talked about that too with the pushbacks.
Let's not forget we had the strike,
The
and
writer's strike.
I think that right there is in my opinion, I feel like that's the biggest problem for this year.
Well, but they held on to those films and then released most of them in 2023. I mean, the ones that they were holding back, they kind of were like, oh, we got to keep holding them, we got to keep holding them. And then they, in 2023, we got through those. But yeah, I don't know if there's a ton of these titles that have come out that, maybe production-wise, like filming schedules and things like that, with the writer's strike and the actor's strike back-to-back like that,
Yeah.
I'm sure they were affected, but these theaters, these studios, they still gotta come up with ideas that they think people are gonna like, and people are just not resonating with what they're putting out there.
And so they're being more selective
They're
now
being
about
more
what they.
selective.
which is
Yeah.
affecting what
Sales.
we're seeing up front.
Yeah.
Interesting, guys. I think we had a great conversation there. Anybody out there listening, June, not so many big titles, but there are some titles that I think you guys out there will find interesting. We have Inside Out 2 for the family. If you want to take the kids out to that, I think that comes out this upcoming weekend, which would be the 14th of June. Bad Boys, fourth installment of Bad Boys.
For
If you
your
guys,
action fans.
yes, if you guys are interested in that series, still running strong with Will Smith and Mr. Martin Lawrence, that is out now in theaters. And A Quiet Place, that's going to be June 28th.
And Watchers is out right now,
And
too.
Watchers with M. Night Shyamalan and his daughter is out right now. And last but not least, Horizon, if you guys are into Westerns, because there is a group of people, there's a fan base for Western films. So
Yep.
if that's something that you'd like to see, we'd like to hear what you think about that as well. Other than that, guys, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Popcorn Square Podcast. I'm Neff signing off with...
Kage?
And Buttons.
Alrighty, guys, be safe, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell for notifications, and share with a friend. And stay tuned for the next episode. Later.
Right.